Strasbourg, 1518, a city suffocating beneath the weight of famine, fear, and fevered faith. The air is heavy. Sweat clings to the skin. Oxen groan in the streets. Rats scurry over empty grain sacks. The scent of old bread and stagnant water clings to every corner. Then, in the middle of the Rue de la Douane, a woman begins to dance. She doesn't sway. She thrashes. Her arms twitch. Her feet pound cobblestones like war drums. Her eyes are not joyful. They are terrified. By nightfall, a crowd forms. People murmur, cross themselves, laugh nervously. But she does not stop. She dances into the second day. And soon, she is not alone. Her name was Frau Trophea, an ordinary woman whose body betrayed her. She danced for days. Neighbors watched her feet blister and bleed. Her limbs became thin, her face gray. Yet she continued, like her soul had left and left her body spinning. She didn't eat. She barely drank. She wept as she moved. By the third day, the laughter stopped. By the sixth, the fear had grown. Onlookers began to whisper. Was she cursed? Possessed? Punished? And then it began again. Another woman joined. Then a man. Then a child. By the end of the first week, 30 others were caught in the same nightmare. And they would not stop dancing. By mid-July, over 400 people were moving uncontrollably through Strasbourg. Their arms jerked. Their legs kicked violently. They collapsed from heat and exhaustion, only to rise again, twitching, shaking. Some danced with smiles stretched unnaturally. Others screamed for mercy, clawing at their skin. Doctors were summoned. Priests performed blessings. Nothing worked. A woman collapsed in the square, her body still trying to move, lips murmuring incoherent prayer. She died within minutes. This was no ordinary illness. It didn't spread by touch or air. It spread by sight, by fear, by the mind. Strasbourg was already broken. A year of failed crops had starved the poor. The Rhine River had flooded weeks earlier, rotting what little food remained. The church preached that divine punishment was near. People saw omens in the sky, comets, eclipses, dead animals in the streets. Many believed Strasbourg had become a city of sin, and that this dancing was not madness, but judgment. And beneath the weight of all this fear, the people began to believe, and that belief became contagion. Desperate for answers, the city council called on their finest doctors, learned men who practiced Galenic medicine, the ancient belief that imbalances in bodily humors caused illness. The diagnosis, hot blood. Their solution, let them dance it out. So the council built a stage. They cleared guild halls and warehouses, and, astonishingly, they hired musicians, drums, flutes, lutes. Night and day they played, and the dancers kept dancing. Some danced until their hearts gave out. Others broke bones mid-motion. It was no longer a mystery. It was a spectacle. What caused the dancing plague? Historians still debate three main theories. 1. Mass psychogenic illness, a psychological disorder triggered by mass trauma, famine, and religious fear. Entire populations can experience physical symptoms from shared belief. 2. Ergot poisoning, a toxic mold that grows on damp rye. It can cause hallucinations, seizures, and muscle spasms, a medieval form of LSD. 3. Religious ecstasy, a spiritual trance, perhaps invoking Saint Vitus, patron saint of dancers. Were they begging for mercy through movement? Others blame demons, possession, mass punishment. But none of it explains how it ended so suddenly, or how it began at all. Physician Paracelsus, who visited Strasbourg later that year, wrote that the dancers were filled with a raging fire that would not let them rest. Eyewitnesses said some dancers wept as they moved. Others laughed uncontrollably. One man screamed that he was burning from the inside. A monk wrote, "They begged for sleep, and still their limbs moved." Even bystanders fell ill. A merchant claimed he felt his legs tick and tremble after watching dancers for an hour. The terror wasn't just in the dancing, it was in the watching. This was more than a physical disease. It was emotional, psychological, spiritual. By late August, panic consumed Strasbourg. Some claimed the city had been cursed by Saint Vitus, who punishes sinners by making them dance until they collapse. Shrines were desecrated, families hid indoors, public prayers were held daily. Even musicians begged the council to let them stop playing. They feared they were fueling the plague. And the dancers? They were no longer seen as human. A woman was found days later, dead in the river, her feet tangled in roots, her body still twisted in mid-motion. The council finally gave up on medicine. They turned to faith. With no other option, the city ordered a final act, a pilgrimage. The remaining dancers, those still alive, were dragged, carried, or led barefoot to the shrine of St. Vitus in the mountains. Some collapsed on the trail. Others chanted or laughed or cried. At the shrine, priests prayed over them. Holy water was poured. Crosses pressed to skin. Feet were bound in red cloth, the symbol of St. Vitus. And slow the dancing stopped. The movement faded. The fog lifted. The nightmare ended. Desperate for answers, the city council called on their finest doctors, learned men who practiced Galenic medicine, the ancient belief that imbalances in bodily humors caused illness. The diagnosis? Hot blood. Their solution? Let them dance it out. So the council built a stage. They cleared guild halls and warehouses, and, astonishingly, they hired musicians. Drums, flutes, lutes. Night and day they played, and the dancers kept dancing. Some danced until their hearts gave out. Others broke bones mid-motion. It was no longer a mystery. It was a spectacle. Could it happen again? It already has. In 1962, a laughing epidemic spread through a girls' school in Tanzania. In the 1980s, fainting spells hit U.S. and Philippine factories. Today, TikTok spreads mass tics and neurological mimicry across screens. The mind is powerful. It can heal, and it can break. Fear spreads faster than any disease. Belief is more contagious than any virus. The dancing plague was not just a historical event. It was a mirror. A mirror of what happens when fear, hunger, faith, and stress collide. Sometimes, the mind runs, and the body follows. In the summer of 1518, over 400 people danced to the brink of death, not for joy, but out of fear, trauma, and something we still cannot name. It remains one of the most haunting events in medical history, because the real epidemic wasn't in their limbs. It was in their minds. What the mind believes, the body remembers. This is Minds Behind History. Subscribe for more dark, emotional, and unforgettable stories from the past.